Hello and welcome to class today. My name is Haley and this is my lovely mother Brenda. She will be showing you some of the poses because I will be doing the third trimester modifications because I am 33 weeks pregnant. So to start, I want you to come onto your mat, sit crisscross applesauce, and we are going to talk about setting an intention for today. So setting an intention, we want to set it for our intention for class or your intention for the day, just something that you feel you need to work on. For me, it's my stress and anxiety. And so it's identifying something that you would like to turn into a positive. It could be a fear you're struggling with. So for example, for me, I'm getting close to giving birth. So it is a fear around giving birth. So I would turn that into a positive of my body is empowered and I trust my body to go through this birthing process. So while you're thinking of an intention, we are going to work on some breathing for a second. So we're going to work on, it's called a 3-part breath. So to start, it's going to be your lower breath, your breath that you breathe into your pelvic area. So you want to sit tall, make sure your shoulders are back, and you feel like you're sitting not all the way back on your butt, but kind of on that pelvis region. And you can sit with your hands on your belly or on your thighs, just whatever is comfortable to you. And when you breathe in, you want to make sure you're breathing down into that lower belly. So you kind of are filling that space in between your legs. You don't want to push your belly out too far. Or if you are pregnant, you don't want to feel like your belly's ripping when you're breathing out. It's just a very light push forward. So let's take a couple deep breaths here. Out. Out. If you are pregnant, you don't want to hold your breath at the top. It's important that you don't do any holding of your breath in your pregnancy. You want to continue that breathing. So when you breathe in, you can hold it for a second and then just let it out. You don't want to be holding on to that breath. Let's take a couple deep breaths. The next breath we are going to work on is our middle breath. And so when you breathe in, you want to feel your ribs expanding. You want to feel it expanding into your back as well. And you don't want your belly to expand so much here. You really want that rib to expand. So you can put your fingers underneath your chest and your thumbs go on your back ribs. So you can feel when you take that deep breath in that your ribs are expanding. Or you can place a hand on your belly and a hand on your back so you can feel the breath expanding that way. I like to do my hands on my ribs so I can really focus that breath on my ribs expanding. And so we're just going to take some deep breaths here. So in, out. When you're taking these breaths, you don't want your shoulders to be moving up. You really want to focus that breath in your middle section. In, out, in, out. One more breath here. In, out. Good job. The last part of the breath is a chest breath. And so when you're breathing in, same thing, you don't want your shoulders to be rising, but you want like your clavicle region to be rising. So you can put a hand on your chest to feel it and a hand on your back, or you can put your thumbs in your armpits and rest your fingertips on your chest. So deep breath in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. All right. So we are going to practice that breathing in with all three parts. So when we breathe in, we're going to start with the deep breath in our pelvic region, bring it up to your middle, and then up to your chest. So we're using all three parts to take some deep breaths here, and then we will move on. Inhale, exhale. And when you exhale, you want to start at the chest, move down to the ribs, and then down to the pelvic area. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. One more breath here. Inhale, exhale. Good job. Okay, so now we are going to get our body warmed up a little. So we are going to start with some pelvic tilts. So you're going to press forward and press like your spine forward and then backwards. So just warming up that spine, warming up your hips and your pelvic region. This is normally part of the class where I would ask some questions to the group and people could get to know each other. All right, move into some circles. And some neck circles. Switch sides or switch directions. All right, and then roll the joints out. Joint rolling is a really good self-care thing. It just helps bring some blood to those joints and helps with stiffness if you're sitting at a computer all day. All right, and put the foot out, roll the joint, the ankle joint. Switch directions. Switch foot. Switch directions. All right, and before we start our flow today, I'm going to talk about one more self-care therapy, and that is called tapping. It's something that I've recently learned about, and it really helps when you're feeling anxious about something, and it's something super quick. You can do it in the mirror when you're getting ready in the morning or sitting at your chair at the office if you're feeling really anxious about something. And what it is literally what it sounds, is you are just kind of tap in certain places. So tap on your scalp, all over your scalp. And this is kind of the same thing with setting an intention, is you can identify the negative feeling and switch it into a positive. So you could say, I'm anxious about this project coming up or whatever you're feeling anxious about, but I am safe in this moment. And just anything that can turn into a positive. You can tap on your forehead. Tap under your eyes, on your cheekbones. Tap under your nose. On your chin. And on your chest, on your clavicle. So this really awakens your nervous system when you're stressed out, and it's actually based off of Chinese acupuncture. And so you can do some more research on different areas that you can tap on throughout your body. But that's just a quick little thing you can do, like I said, at any point during the day, whenever you're feeling anxious, and get a little self-care routine started. So to start our flow, we are going to do some strengthening poses. So I want you to come into all fours on your mats. And we are going to stick our right foot out behind us, back behind us. And if you are not in your third trimester and you feel like you want to work on more balancing and strengthening, you can raise the opposite arm to the foot. Hold that for a second. It really works on balance. If this is too much for you, if you're having some pain in your pelvic area because of the baby or anything, you can put that hand down and bring that leg back in, switch sides. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure you are all aligned. When you stick your leg out, you don't want to drop that hip to the side to overcompensate. You want to keep those stomach muscles tight and squeeze those glutes to keep yourself in line. And bring that leg back down. We're going to switch sides one more time. Right side up. Another little variation is you can also pulse your foot here if you want to add a little movement in there if holding it static is a little too hard. Bring that foot down. Switch sides. Make sure you're breathing here, taking some deep breaths and letting them out, not holding your breath. All right, bring that foot down. We're going to do some cat-cows. So this is where you are looking up to the sky and bringing your belly down, and then exhale, you push your stomach in and your spine up. Drop the head, just working that spine. Inhale, look up. Exhale, curve that back. Inhale, up. Exhale, curve your back. Let's do one more. Inhale, up. Exhale, curve your back. All right, now we are going to do the same movement with putting our leg out behind us, and then we're going to do a little bit of a rainbow. So your leg's going to be out, and you're going to tap on one side, and then tap on the other. You want to make
Other side of your other foot?
Yes, okay. On the other side of your other foot, so you tap over. You can make this movement as big or as little as you want. If you're trying to work on that strength, you can make a bigger rainbow. Or if you're dealing with some aches and pains, you can just do a tiny little rainbow. Just kind of getting in that hip mobility and that strengthening for your hips and your lower back. So let's do a couple rainbows here. Up and over, and then tap back on that other side. So same thing here, I can feel myself because it's a little hard with my pelvic pain. I'm trying to overcompensate by dropping that hip and using my hips to bring my leg over, but you want to keep those glutes tight and that hip and your spine in alignment. All right, let's switch sides. All right, bring that leg back in. So now we are going to transition into standing to do a sun salute. The easiest way for me to transition off of the floor is to move into a down dog. So you want to curl your toes under and use your hands and push those hips up. You can hold it here for a second, walk those legs out a little. And usually you would have a hop forward or walk your feet forward, but because this is a prenatal class, we're going to walk our hands back to our feet. And slowly roll. All right. So in prenatal classes, we normally don't want to do any jumping exercises. So that's why we walked our hands back to our feet, because it was a lower impact for our bodies. So moving on, we're going to do a sun salute. So you want to start with your feet hip width apart on your mat. If you are 3 months pregnant, in your third trimester like I am, you could open your legs a little bit wider for your hips. You want to make sure that your body is stacked like bricks. So when you're standing, especially if you have a bigger belly like mine, you don't want to have that sway back and pushing your belly out, but you also don't want your butt and your pelvis tucked too far under. So you want to just make sure you're holding those glutes in and keeping your spine and your shoulders stacked on top of each other when you're standing. So we are going to start by taking a deep breath in and reaching our arms up. And when you exhale, you're going to fold forward. And if you aren't in your third trimester, you can fold all the way forward and put your hands on the floor. If you are able, or you can put your hands on your legs. If you are in your second or third trimester and that's too hard because of your belly, you can put your hands on your legs. You don't want to put them on your knees for stability. You want them to be on your thighs. Or if you are struggling with heartburn or nausea, you don't want your head to drop below your heart because then some stuff can come up that you don't want to come up. So you don't want to bend all the way forward, so you would just stay here. And then we would inhale and let's lift up slightly, exhale, drop a little, inhale, and then drop. When you inhale, you want to elongate that spine and push your heart through. And then when you exhale, you want to relax it. You don't want to totally collapse forward. And then we are going to inhale, stand up. We're going to take another big deep breath here and try that again. So inhale, exhale, dive forward, forward bend. Stay right where it's comfortable. Inhale, push that spine straight. Exhale, release. Inhale, exhale. You can also hear if you have blocks at home or something that you can use to keep yourself up if it's too uncomfortable to have your hands on your thighs. That is another modification you can do. All right, inhale, slowly come up. We're going to do that one more time before we move into our next move. Inhale, exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come up. Exhale, drop. Inhale, up. Exhale, drop. Inhale, slowly roll up. All right, so we are going to move into a forward lunge. I want your left foot to come forward onto the top of your mat. Your right leg is going to be back and slightly diagonal on your mat, so it's not completely forward, not completely to the side. You just want it in a diagonal. And we are going to move into warrior pose, so your hands are out straight and hinge forward. And try to balance here. If this is too hard to have your hand up by the side of your knee, you can once again put your hand on your thigh for balance, but ultimately you want to move into that hand by the side of your knee. Inhale, come up. Okay, and now we are going to drop that leg to the floor. If you want to push yourself, you can put your hands, before dropping your knee to the floor, put your hands on the mat and move into a plank. But That is too hard for me right now. So I'm going to drop my leg to the floor, then put my hands on the mat, move that other leg back into all fours, and I'm going to move into a supported plank. So that is with your knees on the floor, and then just dropping those hips down and moving your heart through your shoulders. So you don't want to drop your hips too far to go into an up dog. You want to keep the alignment in your spine. And then we are going to drop our head and shoulders and move into a little up dog here. So you can drop your hips to the mat. If this is too much for you, you can use a bolster under yourself, or you can drop yourself to your elbows. I can't do that because my belly's in the way. But if you need a little bit of a break, you can drop into your elbows. This is a really good stretch for your lower back if you're having some lower back pain. All right, and then inhale, come back up to all fours. We are going to move into downward dog again to stand back up. This time we don't have to hold it too long if you don't want to. So curl those toes under, push back, push your hips back, and walk your hands to your feet. And slowly roll up. You don't want to stand up too fast because it can make you really dizzy, especially if you're pregnant. So you want to make sure you're rolling up slow and smoothly. So we are going to do the same thing, but on the opposite leg. So bring your right leg to the front of your mat. Back leg is diagonal. Arms come out. And then hinge forward. Okay. Make sure you're breathing through this, not holding your breath. Inhale, come up. All right, and then drop that knee or put your hands to the mat and move into that plank. Again, I'm going to do a supported plank, so I'll be on my knees, but you still want to drop those hips. Try to make a straight line and push your heart through your shoulders. And then drop forward and move into that upward dog. This is my favorite part of the whole sequence. Inhale, come back up to all fours. And instead of doing down dog to stand up again, we are just going to transition into the stuff we're going to do on the mat. So you can come forward and sit back in crisscross applesauce. So we are going to do some hip opener exercises. Catch our breath here. So the first one we're going to do is the butterfly. So you want to bring your feet together and make sure you're sitting up tall. Your shoulders are pulled back, and you can use your elbows here to kind of press into your knees to make the stretch a little deeper. If you aren't in your third trimester, you can hinge forward and stretch that lower back out a little bit. I can't do that very well because my belly's in the way. Just really getting a good stretch in those hips. You could also flutter your butterfly, where you just flutter your knees a little bit, get a little bit of movement in your legs. Okay, and now we're going to move into a pigeon pose. So I want you to bring your right leg forward to the top of your mat. Your left leg goes behind you, and you want to make sure your knee is kind of to the side of your mat, and you're almost sitting on your ankle, but just pushing that back leg back, stretching out that hip. You should feel it in your thighs as well as your glute, maybe in your lower back a little bit. If you want to lean forward onto your elbows for a little bit deeper stretch, you can do that. This one is also good for sciatic pain in pregnancy or not in pregnancy, to stretch out that sciatic nerve. All right, and you're gonna curl that back toe under and press your leg back into a plank for just a second and bring that opposite leg back through. So you could stretch the other side. Right, and you can come back up to all fours. And we are going to move into child's pose. So you want your legs to come, your knees to come out to the side of your mat. You can sit on top of your feet for a second, and then just hinge forward onto your hands, onto your arms. Let your belly come in between your legs and just really get a stretch in your shoulders, in that back, in those glutes. If this is too hard, you can have your block in front of you and rest your head on your block to come up a little bit. Take some deep breaths here. Just let your belly hang into in between your thighs. If you want more of a stretch in your shoulders, you can walk your arms and your hands forward more onto your mat. All right, slowly walk your hands back, pushing yourself up. The last pose we are going to do is a bridge pose. So I want you to transition into laying down on the mat. That's okay. And then you want to slowly roll yourself back. Your feet are still going to be about shoulder width apart. You don't want them too close together. And then you are going to push through your heels and lift your pelvis and your butt up. Make sure you keep your body in that straight alignment as much as you can. This really works your glutes and your thighs. And we're going to inhale, come up into bridge, exhale, bring yourself back down to the mat. Inhale, come up. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale, slowly lower it down. More. Inhale, up. Exhale, slowly release. One more. Inhale. inhale, release. So you can stay here on the mat because we are going to move into our Shavasana now. So if you are in your first trimester or you feel comfortable, you can just lay flat on the mat with your legs out or slightly bent. If you are in your second or third trimester, I want you to lay on your side with your arm under your head and either a pillow or a block in between your legs, because you shouldn't be laying completely flat on your back. So go ahead and transition here. Thank you. So I'll demonstrate this side. So here we're just gonna bring our focus back to our breath and that 3-part breath, filling up your stomach and your lungs, and you can close your eyes here or focus on an object. You want to remember the intention that you had set at the beginning, focusing on that positive. I want you to think of yourself in a place that brings you peace. It could be at the beach, listening to the waves, in a meadow, or on a hilltop. Just really focusing on that breath. Feel your muscles relax and press into the floor. And while you are in your peaceful place, I want you to let go of some of the stresses in your life. So it's important to acknowledge them and not just try to forget them or not really feel those emotions. So kind of picture it as you identify something that's stressing you out and you see it, but it's floating past you. And so you recognize it, but you are releasing it. When you breathe in, you think about what it is that you want to identify, and when you breathe out, when you breathe in, you want to breathe in peace and breathe out the stress. Identify things in this peaceful place, the sounds, the smells. Breathe in that peace, breathe out the stress. Letting go of the tension in your muscles. And when you're ready, start bringing that breath back into your muscles. So start by wiggling your toes and your fingertips. Roll out your wrists and your ankles. Start just awakening those muscles again. A couple more deep breaths here. And if you are not already on your side, I want you to very slowly roll yourself onto your side. Use your hands to walk yourself up. Come back into sitting position. We're going to sit here a minute and just give ourselves a little self-pampering and rub your calf muscles and your legs and your feet. We really want to focus on self-care during your pregnancy. And then switch which foot is forward in your crisscross applesauce, because we tend to favor one side, and so we always put that side first, so it's important to balance out and sit the opposite way sometimes. So it's important that you hydrate after a yoga class, but really all day long it's important that you hydrate. So that's another way that you can focus on some self-care, is just making sure that you're drinking enough water throughout the day. So my favorite way to get some more water is to add some mint to my water or some lemon, just to give it a little extra flavor. You can set reminders on your phone to drink water if you have a hard time drinking water. What's your favorite way to drink water?
I like spa water, so I like cucumber and strawberries and a little bit of mint.
Those are always good ways. You could add pretty much whatever you want to your water as long as you're drinking it. Some fresh fruit, or like my mom said, some mint is always refreshing. You should remember that tapping therapy. If you're feeling anxious about stuff, it's just a really good way to bring yourself out of that anxiety. And normally in an in-person class, this is when I would have my students stay for tea afterwards, or go meet at a coffee shop. It's really important during this prenatal time to build that community of women that are in similar situations, going through similar periods in their lives, whether this is your first kid or your fifth kid. It's always nice to have that community. So I would encourage you to find a prenatal class in your area that offers some community for you. And I just appreciate you joining me today. Thank you so much.